Piers Morgan isn't afraid to give his strong opinions and thoughts about the woke culture. He isn't scared of getting cancelled or hated on, and that's what makes him a special journalist.
But if I asked you, for example, should biological males be allowed to compete in women's sport? Hang on, what would you say?
This is a crazy question that I'm not here to talk about.
What would you say?
Because it's not something
you can't answer, can you?
I'm not an expert.
The famous British journalist and political commentator had enough of woke culture. In many interviews, he completely humiliated and destroyed woke individuals, leaving them shocked and speechless.
Let me ask you a question. Do you understand and appreciate...
What are all these dog whistles and talking points?
They're not dog whistles and talking points. They are legitimate areas of concern. You can't just call everyone who disagrees with you transphobic.
In this video, you'll see Piers Morgan completely destroy woke ideas, shutting them down in just a few words. Watch as he calls out the flaws and proves them wrong over and over again. In this interview, Morgan does exactly that by breaking down woke logic and proving that it's complete nonsense in just a few seconds.
I'm a big Messi fan, but let me just explain this.
Answer my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American women's national team?
You're using the wrong pronoun
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Messi on the U.S. women's national team? Hell yeah.
Would you allow Usain Bolt to do that and be in the sprinting team?
Yes, because that would mean they're a trans woman. They identify as women.
I get it. So just to be clear, you'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy women's football forever. You'd let Usain Bolt...
it'd be very difficult to get a ticket, which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team?
Yes.
Okay. You would let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing team.
Yeah,
you
of course you have to be like the heavyweight.
Do you think Piers Morgan's criticism of woke culture is a necessary pushback against modern extremes? Or is he oversimplifying complex social issues? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Morgan hits hard with a question straight to the point. If Messi or Usain Bolt suddenly identified as women, should they be allowed to compete in women's sports? According to woke logic, the answer would be yes. But Piers isn't having it. He points out that letting biological men dominate women's sports isn't promoting equality at all. It's completely absurd and unfair. His argument makes it clear that, while the intentions might seem inclusive, the reality is that it weakens the fairness of women's competition.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male, adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, okay, I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
But I think we have a right to self-identify, and you said you want to...
As what?
If you'd like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around...
We've literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison, when even his ex-wife said it was all...
In the clip, Piers Morgan challenges the confusion about what defines a woman, emphasizing that it's a simple biological fact. Men are adult male humans, and women are adult female humans. He points out serious problems that arise when this right is misused. This makes you wonder, are woke beliefs about gender identity causing more harm than good? Watch how, in the next clip, Piers Morgan completely humiliates a woke individual who tries to run away from the conversation and avoid answering the questions.
What, are you blaming gay people for that? I mean,
no!
I thought the companies...
Honestly, I don't care what sexuality anybody is. I don't think most people do anymore.
Right, so what is the problem then? Why are you so triggered by a flag? It's a rainbow flag. You mentioned Regent Street.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag.
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight
Where's
everywhere?
my straight flag?
Why am I constantly getting straight?
Where is my straight flag?
Why are straight people holding hands in the street?
When have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why is Mickey Mouse got a girlfriend?
Tell me one straight flag hanging right now anywhere in the world.
Why are straight people
Where is the straight flag?
Identity
Where's the straight flag?
Everywhere.
Where's my straight flag?
It's everywhere.
It's never been a straight...
The woke beliefs just make no sense. When you try to debate them or ask thorough questions, people often dodge the issue and throw out vague answers, thinking it'll make them look right. Piers Morgan keeps proving this day by day. In another interview Piers did with the Diary of a CEO in 2022, he answered the question, why is woke culture destroying our society? What he said was really interesting.
You've seen how this has got progressively more, let's say, the world has got progressively more woke. I think algorithms and Twitter...
the world has moved from being woke
right, okay,
by the original... I think that most people in the 60s, 70s and 80s wanted to see better racial equality and social equality. Most people. But that's what the original definition of woke was. The modern day woke is nothing to do with that. The modern day woke is a form of fascism. Okay, so you will abide by our rules or you get destroyed. That's the difference.
Piers Morgan starts the interview by pointing out how the world has progressively changed, specifically how the term woke has evolved over time. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Woke was about supporting racial and social equality, which most people backed. However, the modern interpretation of woke has shifted, becoming more extreme and authoritarian. He likens today's woke culture to a form of fascism, where people are forced to follow strict rules or risk being destroyed if they don't comply.
And I've seen it on social media, the way that algorithms work as well. They show you more of the same, they keep reinforcing you. Then because you build an audience of the same people, they clap more when you say a certain thing.
Yes.
Which kind of reinforces
you. Preach to your choir.
Yeah.
You know, the analogy I would use, you go back 2,000 years, we lived in tribes.
Yeah, that's right in your book, yeah.
Right, and I told the story, you never used to come out of your tribe. So everyone in the tribe would look the same attitudes, eat the same food, drink the same drink, same senses of humor, because you never moved out of this group of people. And then people began to move out of their tribes and meet other tribes who dressed differently, thought differently, laughed at different things, maybe spoke differently. And both tribes in that moment decided the only answer to this was to kill each other. Well, that's where we've gone back to.
Piers Morgan talks about how modern woke culture has taken over and how social media algorithms make it worse. He points out that platforms show you more of the same content you already like, creating a bubble where people just agree with each other. This makes it harder to see different opinions. He compares this to how people used to live in tribes thousands of years ago, where everyone looked, thought, and acted the same. When tribes met others who were different, they often fought. Morgan believes we've gone back to this way of thinking, where people attack others instead of trying to understand them.
So this is what I wanted to say is your antidote for this new wokeism is to lead and to create a counter-narrative, which is what you're doing with your new show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. It's what you did with your book as well. Are you optimistic deeply that will win?
Well, let me ask you a question. So I'm described as highly controversial, right? I've been called all sorts of names. People say that what I say, things I say are outrageous. When you read my book, how many times did you stop and think, well, that's outrageous?
No, I didn't really disagree with anything.
Right. So that's my point. I don't think I'm the controversial one.
Well,
I think I come at this from a reasonably common sense
in your book,
perspective.
I didn't disagree with you at all. Because you were talking about things like popularism and liberalism and how it's changed. I completely agree. I think I used to identify as being on the left. Now I don't, because because
they're nuts, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of it is absolutely nuts. I also don't really identify with being on the right either, because they're nuts as well.
I agree.
So I find myself in this
You get nuts on both sides, and we're moving to the extremities.
But I'll get cancelled from both.
Piers Morgan talks about being labeled controversial, but argues that his views are just common sense. He explains that both the extreme left and right criticize him because he doesn't fully align with either side. Instead, he aims to create a counter-narrative with his show and book, challenging the extremes in today's culture.
I don't wear the football kit of either.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
So I want to bring back a more consensus-related society, where you reach points of agreement through debate, and you don't try and shame or cancel each other for having different opinions, because that's at the core of this. You know, they call themselves liberals. They're not liberal. Liberalism isn't about an inability to tolerate other opinions. It's the opposite. Right? You're supposed to tolerate and respect other opinions and agree to disagree. We've lost this in society because a small group of people, but very vocal and very angry about everything all the time, they are driving an agenda which, if we go down that road, will be the end of a democratic society.
Piers wants to bring back a society where we can actually debate and find common ground, instead of shaming or canceling people for having different views. True liberalism is about respecting and tolerating opposing opinions, but today's so-called liberals have flipped that idea on its head. A small, loud, and constantly angry group is pushing an agenda that shuts down any disagreement. If we keep going down this path, Morgan warns, it could spell the end of a truly democratic society. Honestly, I think he's got a point. Healthy debate seems to be getting lost in all the noise, and that's a problem.
So I see myself humbly as trying to defend democracy. Genuinely. And humility is not something that comes naturally to me, but genuinely trying to defend what democracy really is and trying to educate these wokies about what real liberalism is, what democracy actually means, what free speech means. Free speech is not about you in an echo chamber all agreeing with each other. As Churchill said, free speech is about listening to views you just don't agree with, but allowing people to have different views.
Piers is speaking facts right now. He's framing himself as a defender of real democracy, pushing back against the modern woke crowd who he feels have misunderstood liberalism. He points out that true democracy and free speech mean being able to listen to and tolerate opinions you don't agree with. Free speech isn't about shutting down different views, but embracing them, even when they challenge your beliefs. The problem with these wokies is that they claim to stand for tolerance, but they're the first to try and silence anyone who doesn't agree with them. They've twisted what it means to be liberal and are pushing an agenda that's all about control, not freedom. Honestly, their constant outrage and need to cancel everything that doesn't fit their narrative is total BS. Real progress comes from debate, not censorship. Piers Morgan isn't afraid to speak his mind, even when it's not popular. While a lot of people are careful not to upset anyone, Morgan goes straight to the heart of controversial issues and says what others might avoid. He calls out what he sees as hypocrisy and challenges the usual viewpoints, making him a unique voice in today's media world. I think it's pretty refreshing to hear someone who's willing to be upfront and honest, especially when so many people are just following the crowd. His bravery in discussing tough topics and not backing down from criticism is something we don't see enough of these days. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to watch my content every week. And if you like this video, I'm sure you will like this one too.